My sister's family betrayal when she stole my money backfired. My daughter's brilliant revenge plan left her calling me screaming, begging for mercy when she discovered what my child had done. Subscribe to the channel and like the video to see more stories like this. My sister emptied my accounts and vanished with her boyfriend. I was heartbroken until my 9-year-old daughter said, "Mom, don't worry, I handled it." Then days later, my sister called screaming. The words hit me like a physical blow as I stared at my phone screen, watching my bank balance drop to zero in real time. Claire, my younger sister by 4 years, had somehow accessed my savings account and drained every penny. $23,000 gone. My emergency fund, Lily's college savings, even the money I'd been setting aside for our summer vacation. All of it vanished while I slept, transferred to accounts I didn't recognize. I sat frozen on my kitchen floor, still in my pajamas at 2 in the afternoon, watching the automated text messages flood my phone. Transaction after transaction, each one another knife in my back. The family I'd trusted, the sister I'd helped through college, through her messy breakup with Jake, through countless financial emergencies, she'd repaid my loyalty by stealing everything I'd worked for. The betrayal cut deeper than any romantic heartbreak I'd ever experienced. Lily found me there an hour later when she got home from school, her backpack still slung over her shoulders as she took in the scene. My laptop was open, showing my devastated bank accounts. Tissues were scattered around me like fallen snow. The look of confusion on her 9-year-old face almost broke me completely. "Mommy, what's wrong?" she asked, dropping her backpack and rushing to my side. Her small hands touched my face, wiping away tears I didn't realize were still falling. I tried to find words that wouldn't terrify her. How do you explain to a child that the aunt she adores, the woman who babysits her and buys her ice cream and calls her little princess, had just stolen their security? How do you tell your daughter that the money for her gymnastics classes, her school supplies, even next month's groceries had vanished because family betrayal runs deeper than blood? Aunt Claire took some money from our accounts, I managed, my voice hoarse from crying. "We're going to be okay, baby, but things might be tight for a while." That's when Lily did something that should have surprised me more than it did. Instead of crying or asking scared questions like most children would, she simply nodded and patted my shoulder with the maturity of someone far beyond her years. "Don't worry, Mom," she said, her voice carrying a strange confidence that sent chills down my spine. I handled it. The way she said those words made my blood freeze. There was something in her tone, a certainty that no 9-year-old should possess when discussing family crisis. Before I could ask what she meant, my phone rang with Claire's number flashing on the screen. I stared at Claire's name on my phone screen for several rings before answering. The confidence in Lily's voice still echoed in my mind, making my hands shake as I swiped to accept the call. What could my sister possibly have to say after stealing my life savings? "Emma, thank God you answered." Claire's voice was frantic, higher pitched than normal. "We need to talk. Something's wrong. Really, really wrong." "Something's wrong?" I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. "You mean besides the fact that you emptied my bank accounts while I was sleeping?" There was a pause, and I could hear muffled voices in the background. Jake was there with her, probably counting my money while she made this pathetic attempt at damage control. "Listen, I can explain about the money," Claire said quickly, "but right now, we have bigger problems. Someone's been messing with our lives, Emma. Our credit cards are maxed out. Our apartment lease got terminated, and Jake's boss fired him this morning. All in the same day. That's not a coincidence." I glanced at Lily, who was sitting at the kitchen table doing her homework with unusual focus. She hadn't looked up since my phone rang, but something about her posture suggested she was listening to every word. "Maybe that's what happens when you steal from family," I said coldly. "Actions have consequences, Claire." "This isn't about consequences," she practically shrieked. "Someone is systematically destroying our lives. Our landlord got an anonymous tip about lease violations we didn't even know existed. Jake's company received evidence of time theft that we never committed. And the credit card thing, Emma, someone's been making purchases in our names for weeks." My eyes found Lily again. She was humming softly while working on what looked like math problems, but her crayon was moving in patterns that didn't match the worksheet. She was drawing something else entirely. "Where are you calling from?" I asked Claire, though I wasn't sure why it mattered. "A payphone outside a gas station in Nevada. Our phones got shut off for non-payment of a bill we never received. Emma, we're stuck here with no money, no credit, and nowhere to go. Someone orchestrated this whole thing." The pieces were starting to form a picture I didn't want to acknowledge. Lily's strange confidence, her computer skills that I'd attributed to being part of the digital generation, the way she'd been asking detailed questions about Claire and Jake lately, questions I'd thought were innocent curiosity about adult relationships. "Lily," I said carefully, covering the phone's mouthpiece, "can you come here for a minute?" She looked up from her drawing with eyes that seemed far too knowing for a 9-year-old. "Is that Aunt Claire calling to apologize?" The casualness of her question made my skin crawl. "How did you know it was Aunt Claire?" "Lucky guess," Lily shrugged, but she was walking toward me with purpose. "Can I talk to her?" Before I could object, object, Lily had taken the phone from my hands. The transformation in her demeanor was immediate and unsettling. "Hi, Aunt Claire," Lily said in a voice sweet enough to fool anyone who hadn't been watching her face. "Are you having a bad day?" Even from several feet away, I could hear Claire's confused response. "Lily, sweetie, where's your mom? We need to talk about grown-up things." "Oh, I know all about grown-up things," Lily replied, her eyes never leaving mine. "Like how you stole Mommy's money to run away with Jake, and how you told your friends that I was just a burden on Mom's life, and how you were planning to take more money from us next month." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. My hands were shaking as I realized that my 9-year-old daughter had somehow orchestrated everything Claire was describing. The credit card max-outs, the apartment lease termination, Jake's job loss. It was all connected to the child standing in front of me, looking completely calm while delivering what could only be described as a verbal death sentence. "You see, Aunt Claire," Lily continued, her voice never losing its innocent tone, "I've been watching you for a while now, taking pictures, recording conversations, keeping track of all the mean things you say about us when you think nobody's listening. And when you took our money yesterday, I decided it was time to share everything I'd collected with the right people." The phone slipped from Lily's small hands and clattered onto the kitchen floor. Claire's voice was still coming through the speaker, a stream of panic and disbelief that filled our quiet house like smoke from a fire. But I couldn't focus on her words. All my attention was fixed on my daughter, who stood before me like a stranger wearing my child's face. "Lily," I whispered, my voice barely audible over Claire's increasingly frantic pleas from the phone. "What did you do?" She bent down and picked up the phone with careful precision, ending the call with a single tap before setting it gently on the counter. When she looked at me again, her expression held a maturity that made my chest tighten with something between pride and terror. "I protected us, Mom," she said simply, as if she were explaining why she'd chosen chocolate milk over regular milk at lunch. "Aunt Claire was planning to take more money. I heard her talking to Jake about it when they thought I was napping on the couch last week. My legs felt weak, so I sank into one of the kitchen chairs. Tell me everything, baby, from the beginning." Lily pulled out the chair next to mine and sat down with the practiced ease of someone who'd been preparing for this conversation. "It started 3 months ago when Aunt Claire said I was getting too expensive and maybe I should go live with Daddy instead." The words hit me like a slap. Claire had said that within earshot of Lily, and I'd never known. My ex-husband lived across the country and had minimal involvement in Lily's life by his own choice. The suggestion would have been devastating for any child to hear, but especially one as perceptive as mine. "She didn't know I was listening," Lily continued, her small hands folded in her lap like she was giving a presentation. "But I was under the dining room table, and I heard everything. She told Jake that you spent too much money on me, and that if something happened to you, she'd probably have to take care of me, and she didn't want that responsibility." I felt sick, not just because of Claire's words, but because my daughter had been carrying this knowledge alone for months, processing the betrayal of someone she'd trusted and loved. "So I started paying attention," Lily said, "really paying attention. And I learned things, Mom, bad things." She got up from the table and walked to her school backpack, pulling out a tablet I'd given her for educational games. But when she opened it, I realized it had been serving a very different purpose. The screen showed folder after folder of files, each labeled with dates and locations. "I recorded Aunt Claire talking on the phone with her friend Jessica," Lily explained, tapping one of the folders. "She said you were pathetically easy to manipulate and that she'd been planning to ask for more money soon. She also said some really mean things about how I dress and how I'm not pretty enough to be in her Instagram photos." My heart was breaking and filling with fury simultaneously. Every maternal instinct screamed at me to comfort my child, to shield her from this knowledge. But another part of me was amazed by her strength and strategic thinking. "What else?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Lily scrolled through more folders, each one a testament to her methodical documentation of Claire's betrayal. Photos of Claire going through my purse when she thought no one was looking. Screenshots of text messages where Claire complained about having to babysit me and her weird kid. Audio recordings of phone calls where Claire discussed her plans to move to California, with Jake using money she planned to borrow from me. "The hardest part was getting into their accounts," Lily said with the casual tone of someone discussing homework difficulty. "But Jake uses the same password for everything, and I watched him type it in when he used our computer last month." I stared at my daughter in complete shock. "Lily, how did you know how to do all this?" She shrugged. "YouTube. There are tutorials for everything. And I asked my friend Marcus's older brother about computers. He thinks I want to be a programmer when I grow up." The complexity of what she'd accomplished was staggering. My 9-year-old had not only detected the betrayal and documented it thoroughly, but she'd also implemented a sophisticated revenge plan that had systematically dismantled Claire and Jake's life in a matter of hours. "When did you actually execute the plan?" I asked. "Yesterday, when I realized Aunt Claire was going to take our money that night," Lily replied. "I saw her looking at your bank statements when she was supposed to be making me lunch. She kept writing down numbers and account information, so I decided it was time." My phone buzzed with another call from Claire. Lily looked at it, then at me, her expression questioning. "Should we answer it, Mom?" I stared at the ringing phone for a moment before nodding to Lily. If my 9-year-old daughter could orchestrate something this sophisticated, I needed to understand the full scope of what we were dealing with. I put the call on speaker this time, wanting to hear everything. Emma! Claire's voice was raw, desperate. Please, you have to listen to me. Someone is destroying our lives, and I think it's connected to that money. Maybe we're both being targeted by the same person. Lily's eyebrows raised slightly, and I could see her fighting back a smile. The irony of Claire being partially right, she was indeed being targeted, while being completely wrong about who was responsible, seemed to amuse my daughter in a way that chilled me. Tell me exactly what's happening, I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. Everything started going wrong right after Claire paused, probably realizing she was about to confess to theft, right after the money transfer. First, our credit cards got maxed out with purchases we never made. Expensive electronics, jewelry, vacation packages, thousands of dollars of stuff that got delivered to addresses we've never seen. Lily was doodling on a piece of paper now, drawing what looked like a timeline with small check marks. She was tracking Claire's discovery of each element of her plan. Then our landlord called and said we were being evicted for lease violations, Claire continued. Apparently, someone reported us for subletting without permission, keeping pets without approval, and disturbing the peace. They had photos, Emma. Photos of things we actually did, but how could anyone have gotten them? I looked at Lily, who pointed to one of the folders on her tablet labeled Evidence Collection. My daughter had been conducting surveillance on Claire and Jake for months. And Jake's job. Claire's voice broke. His supervisor said they received an anonymous tip with proof that Jake had been falsifying his timesheets. They had copies of security camera footage showing him leaving early and computer logs proving he'd been editing his hours. He got fired on the spot, and they're threatening to prosecute for theft. Did Jake actually do those things? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Well, yes, but just little things, leaving 30 minutes early here and there, nothing major. But whoever sent that information made it look like a systematic pattern of fraud. Lily had stopped drawing and was listening intently, her expression serious. I realized she was monitoring Claire's reaction to each revelation, probably assessing whether her plan was achieving the desired psychological impact. There's more, Claire whispered. Our car got repossessed this morning. Apparently we missed 3 payments that we never received bills for, and our phones were shut off because someone changed our billing address to a vacant lot in Wyoming. All our mail has been going there for weeks. The precision of Lily's revenge was breathtaking and terrifying. She hadn't just punished Claire and Jake. She'd systematically dismantled every aspect of their stability using their own misdeeds as ammunition. Claire, I said carefully, maybe this is just consequences catching up with you. No, she shouted. This is coordinated, professional. Someone with serious computer skills and access to information they shouldn't have. Emma, I think we're dealing with something dangerous here. Lily looked up at me and mouthed the word dangerous, with a small giggle that sent shivers down my spine. My daughter didn't see herself as dangerous. She saw herself as effective. Where are you sleeping tonight? I asked. We're in Jake's car in a Walmart parking lot. We tried to use our emergency credit card, but it's been frozen for suspicious activity. We can't even buy food. I felt a stab of sympathy despite everything. No matter what Claire had done, the idea of her sleeping in a car was disturbing. But when I looked at Lily, I saw no trace of remorse on her face. If anything, she looked satisfied with this update on her plan's effectiveness. Maybe you should call the police, I suggested, and tell them what? That someone used our own illegal activities against us? Jake really was stealing time at work. We really were violating our lease. We really did max out those credit cards before, just not with these recent purchases. Whoever's doing this is using our actual mistakes to destroy us. The genius of Lily's approach was becoming clear. She hadn't fabricated evidence. She'd simply documented existing violations and ensured the right people became aware of them at the same time. It was like watching dominoes fall, each consequence triggering the next in a carefully orchestrated sequence. I have an idea, Lily said suddenly, speaking directly into the phone. Maybe Aunt Claire should come home and apologize for taking our money. Maybe if she gives it back and says she's sorry, the bad things will stop happening. The silence on the other end of the line stretched for nearly a minute. When Claire finally spoke, her voice was small and defeated. Lily, sweetie, do you know something about what's happening to us? The question hung in the air like smoke from a fire that was about to consume everything. I watched Lily's face transform from innocent curiosity to something far more calculating. When she smiled, it was the same sweet expression that had charmed teachers and neighbors for years, but now I could see the steel underneath. I know lots of things, Aunt Claire, Lily said, her voice maintaining that unsettling combination of childlike sweetness and adult precision. I know that you've been planning to take more of our money for months. I know that you told Jake I was an annoying burden that Mom should get rid of. I know that you were never planning to pay back what you stole. The sharp intake of breath from the phone was audible. Claire was starting to understand, but the full scope hadn't hit her yet. I also know about the credit card you opened in Mom's name last year, Lily continued, consulting her tablet like she was reading from a script. The one you've been using for small purchases, thinking Mom wouldn't notice. And I know about the jewelry you took from Grandma's house when she was in the hospital. The pieces you sold to pay for your vacation with Jake. My blood turned to ice. I hadn't known about any of this. My mother's missing jewelry, the unexplained charges on my credit report that I'd attributed to clerical errors. It had all been Claire. How? Claire's voice was barely a whisper. How could you possibly know about that? Because I've been watching you, Lily said simply. For months. Taking pictures, recording conversations, following the clues. You weren't very careful, Aunt Claire. You left receipts in your purse when you visited. You talked on the phone about private things when you thought I was playing video games. You used our computer to look up how to transfer money from other people's accounts. The methodical way my daughter laid out Claire's crimes was chilling. She wasn't angry or emotional. She was presenting facts like a prosecutor building a case. All those bad things happening to you aren't random, Lily continued. I sent the evidence to the right people. Your landlord needed to know about the lease violations. Jake's boss needed to know about the time theft. The credit card companies needed to know about the fraud. You're 9 years old, Claire screamed through the phone. You can't possibly have done all this. I'm 9 years old and you stole money from my college fund, Lily replied, her voice never rising above a conversational tone. You called me names and said I was too expensive. You planned to take more money from us and leave us with nothing. Being 9 doesn't mean I'm stupid, Aunt Claire. It just means adults underestimate me. The sound that came through the phone was something between a sob and a scream. Claire was finally understanding the full scope of what had happened to her and who was responsible. Please, Claire begged, her voice breaking. Lily, sweetie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you or your mom. I was just scared and desperate, and I made terrible choices. Please, can you make it stop? Lily looked at me with raised eyebrows, silently asking for my input. The decision about mercy she was indicating was mine to make, but the cold calculation in her eyes suggested she had her own opinion about what Claire deserved. The money, Claire, I said finally. Every penny, plus interest, plus compensation for the emotional distress you've caused my daughter, plus restitution for everything else you've stolen from our family over the years. I don't have it anymore, Claire admitted through tears. We spent most of it on the trip to Nevada, and the rest is tied up in accounts I can't access because of all the fraud alerts. Lily tilted her head thoughtfully. That's not my problem, Aunt Claire. You figured out how to steal it. You can figure out how to return it. And if I can't? The question seemed to hang in the air for an eternity. When Lily finally responded, her voice carried a finality that made my stomach drop. Then I guess you'll keep having bad luck until you do. Amazing how these things work out, isn't it? The call ended with Claire's sobbing echoing through our kitchen. Lily calmly turned off the phone and looked at me with an expression that was part pride, part question mark. Did I do the right thing, Mom? I stared at my daughter. This child who had single-handedly brought down 2 adults who had betrayed our family, who had demonstrated a level of strategic thinking that most adults couldn't achieve, who had protected us in a way that I never could have imagined. I think, I said slowly, that you did exactly what needed to be done. 3 weeks later, I received a package with no return address. Inside was a cashier's check for $25,000, the original amount plus interest, just as I'd demanded. There was also a handwritten letter from Claire, her familiar script shaky and desperate across the page. Emma, it read, I've sold everything I own and taken loans I'll be paying off for years, but here's the money. Please ask Lily to call off whatever else she has planned. Jake and I are living in a motel room and working minimum wage jobs just to survive. We've learned our lesson. Please. Lily read the letter over my shoulder, her expression thoughtful. She's scared, she observed with clinical detachment. Good, I replied, and meant it. The transformation in our lives had been remarkable. With the returned money plus the additional compensation, I'd been able to not only restore Lily's college fund, but significantly expand it. More importantly, the entire experience had revealed my daughter's extraordinary capabilities and strategic mind. We'd had long conversations about what she'd done, about right and wrong, about the difference between justice and revenge. Lily listened with the same focused attention she'd applied to her surveillance operation, asking thoughtful questions about ethics and consequences. I don't feel bad about it, she'd told me one evening as we walked through the park near our house. Aunt Claire made choices that hurt us, and I made choices that protected us. That seems fair to me. Her matter-of-fact assessment was both impressive and unsettling. My daughter had orchestrated the systematic destruction of 2 adults' lives with the calm precision of a chess master, and she felt no remorse about it because, in her 9-year-old logic, justice had been served. Claire had called twice more since sending the money, both times begging to speak with Lily. Both times, Lily had declined to take the calls. She lost the right to talk to me when she decided I was too expensive, Lily explained. Some bridges, once you burn them, can't be rebuilt. The wisdom in her words was staggering. This child, who still needed help reaching high shelves and reminded me to pack her lunch, had developed a more sophisticated understanding of consequences and relationships than many adults ever achieve. I'd enrolled Lily in advanced computer science classes, partly to nurture her obvious talents and partly to ensure they were channeled constructively. Her instructor, Mr. Davidson, had been amazed by her skills and natural understanding of complex systems. She has an intuitive grasp of logic and strategy that I've rarely seen, he'd told me during a parent conference. With proper guidance, she could accomplish incredible things in technology. I'd smiled and nodded, thinking about how she'd already accomplished something incredible, though Mr. Davidson would never know the details. The relationship between Lily and me had deepened through this experience. The crisis had stripped away any pretense that she was just a normal 9-year-old who needed protection from adult realities. She was my partner now, someone I could trust with serious conversations and complex emotions. "Do you think Aunt Claire will ever forgive me?" she asked one night as I tucked her into bed. "Does it matter to you if she does?" I replied. Lily considered this seriously. "No," she said finally. "I think what matters is that she learned you can't hurt people without consequences. Maybe that will make her a better person." I kissed her forehead, marveling at the complexity of the child I was raising. "And if it doesn't, then at least she won't hurt us again," Lily said with simple certainty, "because now she knows I'm watching." As I turned off her bedroom light, I reflected on the strange turn our lives had taken. My daughter had saved our family not through forgiveness or reconciliation, but through careful planning, evidence collection, and ensuring that people who chose to do harm faced appropriate consequences. Claire learned the hard way that when you underestimate someone, especially a child who loves their family fiercely, you might just discover that the smallest person in the room can bring down your entire world. The money was back, the betrayal had been addressed, and justice had been served by the most unlikely of champions. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's having a 9-year-old daughter who refuses to let anyone harm her family. What do you think about this story? Have you ever been underestimated because of your age, only to surprise everyone with your capabilities? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this tale of family betrayal and brilliant revenge, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more incredible real-life stories. Thank you for watching until the very end.